sales opportunities, and revenue. These leads, contacts, opportunities are probably hiding in emails, in Google Sheets, in Excel sheets, and probably post-it notes. And yes, they slip through the cracks. And then your likelihood to nurture these leads, to close these deals, that likelihood gets smaller and smaller as time goes by. I see this all the time. What's missing typically is a sales process to track and manage all your sales data, all the contact information, all the sales opportunities, and then have these bubble up so that you know what you should focus on next, this week, next week, a proposal that you meant to send out, a quote that you want to follow up on, a demo that you should have scheduled and maybe you forgot. So the system or the sales process that's missing is what will help you get closer to closing deals and to meeting your revenue targets. And as we discussed in previous sessions in this CRM series, a CRM will make your life, your business easier, but with two big ifs. The first one is if you choose the right CRM for your business, and the second if you adopt and integrate the CRM in your business, in your processes, and recognize it as a vital business function. And this is what I want to help you with today. How do you unbox your CRM? And then 4 practical adoption tips to get started fast and start seeing results right away. And for those of you who are joining us now, and maybe you haven't listened or watched to the previous sessions, a reminder that in the previous sessions of the series, we covered why a CRM is crucial for your business, 3 benefits of CRMs. I also shared specific examples of the type of data you can get out of a CRM. So you can nurture the leads and close deals. And then we also shared and did a walkthrough of a DIY do-it-yourself CRM. And then in the last session, we talked about how to choose the best CRM for your business. So we will make sure all these links are in the description so that you click at them and watch them at your leisure. And again, always feel free to let us know. You can reach out to me on any of the social platforms, and you can also email us directly at Ferris@startupwithferris.com, or you can, if you want to keep this anonymous, you can leave us a comment or a question in the link below in a Google form in the description. And one last thing here on the administrative side before we jump in is whether you're watching or listening live or tuning in later, do let me know if you like what you're hearing and what other topics you'd like us to cover. You'd like us to cover. We have these live streams every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and we typically cover a business topic, and then we answer the questions that come our way from the community. All right. So with that in mind, let's get right into it and talk about the 4 CRM adoption tips. Okay, good. So let me start off with a quote. A bad system will beat a good person every time. This is by W. Edward Deming, famous for his contribution to quality in business. Way back then, TQM, total quality management, was a big thing. But he was internationally recognized as a champion, as a pioneer in that field. But what he said a bad system will beat a good person every time. And the way I like to understand this is that it's really, as a founder, as a business owner, as a sales manager, you could be the most amazing person for that role. You're smart, you're on top of things, you follow up. But over time, as you get more leads, as you have a lot going on, as you have more responsibilities, you'll start, if you don't have a system in place, if you don't have a way to follow up, a process, things will slip through the cracks, as I said earlier, and then you won't be as effective as if you are equipped with a system. So a system, no matter how bad it is, will always be better because you can start improving. If you have a process that's not efficient today, at least you have a process. You have a repeatable steps that you make, that you take every time, and then you can start building on that system and improving the steps, making them more effective, making them more efficient. So the idea here is, and when we speak about CRMs or about any business process, maybe your task management system that you have, or maybe your accounting system, or maybe in the future, or if you have an ERP system, or for small businesses, maybe you have an email marketing program. These are all business processes and systems. So start. Don't do things sort of in a unstructured fashion. Initially, it's okay. We all do that. But as you start to have these repeatable tasks, and as you start to have these repeatable projects, you want to have in your business, you want to have systems that will help you scale. Otherwise, and I see this with a lot of the founders I speak with, and on the average, I'm speaking to 1 to 2 founders every week. One of the most, I would say, one of the most limiting factors, limiting factors, is that founders don't establish systems and processes that they can delegate to other people to help them grow and scale the business. So enough on systems. Now let's talk about the CRM system. So the approach I'm covering today is tool agnostic. I'm not What I'm about to cover today is not just applicable to, say, Salesforce or HubSpot or Zoho. It doesn't matter what system you're using. These are more very practical tips from the trenches that you can apply to whatever CRM system that you have adopted. And I'm going for practicality over comprehensiveness, because my goal is to get you up and running fast. And for those of you, again, who are joining just now, a quick reminder that a lot of these CRMs that we reviewed in the last session, and I had a list of 20, they are very technologically advanced. They're powerhouses, jam packed with capabilities and features, and can make the most tech savvy person dizzy, because CRMs have been around for a long time, and they've evolved quite nicely. And obviously now with AI, you'll see some AI features in a lot of them. But to summarize the features that DCRMs offers before we go into unboxing and using those 4 tips we discussed to kind of get the CRM up and running quickly. The features include contact management and sales data management, the ability to record and track all your important sales data, name, title, company, a whole lot of fields. You can have, gazillion fields. So that's just one thing, is you have everything in one place, and you can then filter. You can report on all my clients, or all my leads in healthcare. I want to look at all my leads in um, in the Dallas area. So all of that information, you can, once you enter it, once that those fields are populated, then you can report on it. You can filter on it. You can do a lot with it. So that's number one. Number two is task and activity management. So tracking sales opportunities, and then what stages these opportunities are in. Is the client evaluating you against other vendors? Have you submitted a proposal yet? Are you negotiating with the client? So those are other things you can track in the CRM. And then, excuse me. And then another thing is automation, workflow automation, and the ability to integrate with other systems, whether it's your email system or maybe other types of. You can infuse data into the CRM, so you know more about your clients. So there's a lot of these systems out there. They provide you with a whole lot of integration capabilities. And last but not least, reporting. So you'll see a lot of reports in that you can pull in out of the box reports, and then you can have customized dashboards on your sales, on your show me the sources of my unqualified leads, because you want to know if you're spending money on marketing channels that are bringing you in unqualified leads. You have to do something about those channels. Maybe go and refine maybe your targeting, or maybe stop spending money on this specific channel that does not seem to get you any qualified leads. So all that information will be housed in a CRM, and then you will be able to report on it fairly quickly. And again, if you haven't had the chance to watch our previous episodes, we'll have the links below. And we just published an article, a guide actually, on the CRM on our website. So we'll also include the link to that article in the description. Cool. So with all these features and all these capabilities, it's easy to feel intimidated and overwhelmed. So, and I was talking to someone yesterday, and he said, "You know what? I'm still using my spreadsheet because it's just too much. I'm not sure where to start with the CRM thing that I got." So you might feel that the manual process that was working for you was just the best thing because the CRM is just too overwhelming. But no, I promise that once you have a CRM and once you adopt it and once you make it part of your business process and your day-to-day workflow, it is very well worth your time and effort. I'll go and say you really can't scale a business. You really can't grow the business. And I speak from experience. We've grown businesses to 7 and 8 figures. So at one point, a spreadsheet is okay, as we said in the DIY episode the other day. But after maybe 50 qualified leads, maybe 100 qualified leads, you really need to go to a system. And what I want you to do is once you go to a system, and assuming you have a system now or you bought it and you're not sure what to do with it, is how do I get started fast? That's the first step. Is I want you to get started fast. So new software, whatever software it is, it takes time and effort to learn. No argument there. And of course, you could enroll in an in-person or an online course or spend hours or days surfing your CRM vendor's web library, or maybe go on YouTube and just even on TikTok and watch all the demos and all the tutorials as the person who's just adopted the software. But I want you to do some of that. And I want you to, the goal here is not to become a CRM software expert. You want to know enough so that you can be up and running quickly and spend more time on your business's profit generating aspects. So approach the tip here, the crux of this tip here is that approach learning your CRM like you would approach any essential business software tool. So for example, let's say something that most of us are very familiar with, Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. So there are hundreds of functions and features and capabilities in these tools, in Google Sheet, in a Google Sheet or in Microsoft Excel. And then the average person, and these tools go from these features go from like routine, some math functions to maybe full data analysis and dashboarding as well. But most of us, we probably know, I don't know, 10, 20 features, or at least we use these 10 or 20 features in Excel like 80, 90% of the time. So while the spreadsheet or any system or Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Google Slides or any of these new tools or even Canva or anything out there, they're gazillion, there are a lot of features. Most of us use, I would say, 5-10% of those features to do 90% of the work that we need to done in this tool. And I want you to approach the CRM with that same mindset. That is, I don't need to know initially, I don't need to know every feature, every capability, and understand all the integration and all the software plugins. I don't want to do any of this stuff. Start learning. Okay, here's the lead module. I enter my lead and all the information associated with the lead. Here's how I track next steps and notes from calls and emails with the lead. And the same thing with opportunities. So use the features that you need right away, and then gradually you can improve, increase, and expand into what this tool provides. And we'll use this principle a lot today. Think of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. So find the 20% of the features that will allow you to accomplish 80% of what you need, and focus on that. And so master those 20%, the set of features that maybe represent 20% of the entire feature set, and then you can pick up the other later. So that's one thing. Before we go to the second practical tip on adoption of CRMs, let's see what questions we have. All right. And before the question, we have someone on Instagram saying, hello, good morning, brother. Okay, good morning, brother. I'm not sure who it is, but it's the barber. So thank you for tuning in and listening. Appreciate it. Cool. So the question, why should I pay for CRM features that I'm not going to use? Well, that's a very good question. You can ask the vendors. Maybe should have a pricing model based on the feature that we use. I'm not aware of any system that does that, but there might be some. I mean, they do have. Sorry, there's obviously the whole SaaS model where you have, maybe a free version like Zoho, HubSpot. They have a free version, and then they give you more features, and you pay for those. But in terms of within, let's say, a premium set of features, I'll only use three. That'd be a cool business model. Maybe someone can come up with that solution. But I mean, why should you pay for a CRM? I'd like look at your phone, look at your computer, look at Google Sheets, look at any software. We don't use most of those features, but again, the 10 or 20 or 30% of the features we use are definitely worth the money. So if you go back to some of the sessions we discussed previously, we talked about how to choose a CRM. My main point there was to focus on your requirements, because a lot of these CRMs out there, they cover, I would say they have most of these features that I discussed earlier. So a lot of the CRMs today cover most of the needs of most companies, especially small mid-sized businesses. So if you're looking, for example, for a sort of to have your email marketing and some of the invoicing capabilities and have the core CRM features all in one piece, there are solutions that do that. If you're looking just for a pure CRM uh, capabilities, maybe the Salesforce for small businesses, or maybe, I mean, HubSpot has obviously the baked in marketing automation and lead nurturing components. So there are different, I think defining your requirements, that's really key before you buy any software, not just a CRM. What are my core requirements, and then map what you need, your requirements, against what the system offers. I think that is better way, the best way in my mind to look for, whether you're hiring someone and you have a job description, or whether you're selecting a software tool and you want to make sure the software tool addresses your your requirements. So look at your requirements, and if a subset of those features are met, then go for that tool. But yeah, in terms of paying for other features that you don't use, most of the time, that's how software is sold. But with a lot of these systems, again, you go on Zoho, you go on HubSpot and others, you'll see different levels from maybe free to sort of business light to premium, and just go with the one that don't go for the most expensive and the most complex. Go with the one that meets your requirements. Good question. And do one thing here, one quick tip. Business, small business owners, entrepreneurs, you wanna always look for a deal. After maybe you get the free trial from the vendor, you'll be contacted by a sales rep, and then ask for a promotion, ask for a discount, tell them maybe they can extend the free trial for a month or two. But yeah, you can hustle a little bit and get a cut, or sorry, get a discount on what you're paying. Cool. So we talked about getting started fast. Don't get overwhelmed by all these features. Focus on what you need first. Master that 20, 10, 20, 30%, and then you can learn the other things later. Now, the second tip is, in terms of preparation and planning for using the CRM, I would say use as is. So out of the box, a CRM will ask you some routine questions like, upload your leads. If you have a set of leads in a CRM, in a sheet, you can upload the sheet into the CRM, and you can populate the fields that you have. Maybe the fields could be, again, obviously the name, contact, email, phone number, all that, and maybe industry, maybe the status of the lead, qualified, unqualified, on hold, and then other as many columns as you want. A lot of these tools allow you to add custom fields. So I would say use the system as is. Don't start to jump into customization right away. And I would also say, based on maybe your past experience, based on what you've heard online, on YouTube, maybe on our channel, if you're using specific terminology for leads and opportunities, and then the system that you've adopted, that you bought, has a different set of terminology, I would say change your business lingo to match what's in the system. Because sooner than later, as your business is growing, you'll have other people using the CRM. You'll have salespeople potentially selling for you. You'll have maybe your implementation team also looking at the CRM for some data that they need. So having a consistent naming convention across the company and that matches what the software calls things is really important. It'll help you avoid confusion between within your team members, and again, as you're using the team. So as you're using the software. So this might sound like trivial or maybe even silly, but trust me, you'll avoid confusion. You want to make sure everything is streamlined. Everybody talks about the same thing. What you define as a lead, what you define as a qualified lead, what you define as unqualified and an unqualified lead, that has to be understood the same way by everybody who uses this system. And again, when we talked about the DIY CRM, I had it's a Google sheet, and I had a tab where I had some definitions. So you make sure you define things consistently across the system they use, and also when you speak internally, when you report, when you're meeting with your salesperson, and how many qualified leads do I have? You want to make sure you and your salesperson, and then what's in the system is all the same, so that you are getting a clear and an accurate picture of the business. So change nothing initially. Use what the system is using, and watch. I think that watch the vendors get started videos. And again, if sometimes their sales folks, they will walk you through things. Uh, you wanna be very familiar with the basics, and then you can dive in, and you can and then you can start pull data into the CRM from other systems that you've had. The other systems could have, again, been a Google sheet, an Excel sheet. It could have been maybe your contacts list. It could be notes you have on your phone. So all of that needs to gradually be integrated, uploaded into the CRM. And again, using common naming conventions and the naming convention that the tool offers, I think is really helpful. So once you get a hold of that system, because I'm telling you here, use as is, you'll run into issues. No software is a perfect fit for every business. So I'm telling you here, use it as is, don't customize initially. So, but jot down the issues you're having. Maybe you have in let's say in a CRM system, when you go to opportunities, there are 10 stages, from education to qualification to evaluation to negotiation to all of that. And in your sales cycle, you sell something that require, maybe it's a very shorter sales cycle, and maybe you only need 3 of these stages. So initially, only use 3 of those 10 stages that are listed in the CRM. Don't worry about customization yet, but jot down that there's just the drop down has 10 entries. That's too much for me, and it's confusing, and people misuse those fields. So jot down the issues that you are running into. Also, maybe in the lead qualification field, you have qualified leads, unqualified leads. Maybe you want to have a field called on hold, where just you've followed up with someone 10 times and they're just not being responsive, and you don't want to close it or call them a dead lead, whatever. Just you want to put them on hold. So you want to add that field, that attribute to the field. So jot down all these things that you want to improve, and then potentially you might need some workflow enhancements. So when I move a lead from unqualified to qualified, I want to have a certain things happen in the system automatically. So you need some workflow automation. And some systems support this, some systems don't support this. So start, as you're using it for a month or two, start jotting down either the things you want to improve on what comes out of the box, or the things that are missing, or things that you'd like to happen, like something would trigger another action that's really needed in sales. Like when I finish speaking with someone and I say next follow up in, let's say, in a month, I want the system to put something on my calendar so I don't forget to follow up in a month, right? So jot all this down, and then later, which will be the next tip we'll talk about in a little bit, then you can look into customization, to get someone potentially on your team to become sort of the system admin for the CRM to help implement those customizations, or you can potentially hire someone. But the idea here is that One of the principles we have here at Startup with Ferris. We call them one of the black belt principles. Is learn, implement, then seek. So learn all you can, do the best you can with what you've learned, and then based on your newly acquired experience, you should be now equipped to seek the advice of a professional and ask the right questions on where and what you need help in. So it's better to understand the software first and play with it. You know, get your get your feet wet, get in that software, and then you can customize it later. Because if you make significant changes up front, you'll just most likely you'll end up having to revise those later because you just really haven't played with the tool and you don't know how the tool works and what you like and what you don't like in it. So changes can be done later, but initially just get in there, use as is, jot down what you need to be improved, and you can make all these improvements later. So this knowledge that you've gained along the way will help you get the right to the right configuration later. And a lot of times in a lot of these tools, you will continue to tweak gradual every quarter, every couple of quarters when your business is growing and you have maybe 3-4 salespeople now running, working for you. Your needs will also evolve, and you'll need some maybe advanced customization to support and advanced dashboarding, so you can monitor the what how the salespeople are using the system, how the opportunities are being nurtured. So some of the needs that you'll have as the business grows will not be met by what comes out of the box. Cool. So before we go on to the next tip, let's see what we have for questions. So we have a question here from on LinkedIn. Can you use LinkedIn inbox instead of emails for CRM? That is a good question. I haven't used. I don't know the answer. I will get you the answer. Just that's the short answer. But we'll make a note of this, and we will definitely get back to you on that. We'll add a comment on there. But I believe, based on some research I've done in the last couple of months leading up to this, there are some integrations available. I know, for example, when you are sending an email out to a customer, for example, in Salesforce, when you're sending out an email to a customer, you want to track all the information about all the sales interaction that you have. You want to make sure that information is in one place. I think that's just efficient, because you'll forget. You're working maybe with 10, 20, 30 leads, and you'll forget what you sent to this person and that other person. So in Salesforce, I used to always BCC, blind copy, the emails I sent to customers, and those end up being stored in the CRM. And this way, when I log into the CRM, I have all the history of all the interactions with the client. So I will double check on the integration with the LinkedIn inbox and get back to you. And again, thank you for your comment. Another question came in here. Should I get help from the vendor or a consultant? So yeah, we talked about using the system as is and then customizing later. I would say, I'm hesitant to give you a specific time period, because it depends. Like, if your sales cycle is a 3-month cycle, then you want to use the system for more than 3 months. But if your sales cycle is, let's say, a 2-week cycle, then over the span of 2 months, you'll have gone through many leads and many qualified leads and maybe proposals and closed deals. So initially, I would say learn by doing yourself. See what the vendor offers on their YouTube channel, on their own portals, and then in a lot of the cases, as your needs evolve, you will need some customization in the workflow. At least that's my experience. And then that's when you go to a vendor, to a consultant. Some of the CRM providers, they have their own professional services. A lot of them, they don't. So you can go on many of these platforms out there. For example, Upwork, and then you can find for a vendor who is certified. Look for someone who's top rated, someone who they don't have to be in your region, but someone who is top rated, in my mind, someone who has experience and maybe certifications in the CRM that you're using. And then a lot of them offer a quick call, no charge, and on Upwork, and then tell them, here's what I'm looking for. Can you help? They might be able to spend an hour or two just to do that little customization for you. Or if you have a large team by now and you have a lot of salespeople and you need a lot of workflow customization and automation, yeah, you might need to put a budget, set a budget aside for that. So I know in one of the businesses, when we were using a new CRM at the time, and I've used HubSpot and Salesforce and NetSuite and Nation Builder for nonprofits, and another one that now I'm blanking on. So that's what to do in terms of um, uh, paying a consultant or a vendor to help you customize the CRM. And then Carlos, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Any advice as the best CRM for M&A? Carlos, I think I don't have the names handy off the top of uh, my mind here, but I will follow up with you. I did see a research recently where they listed. I think they had a nice infographic on systems used for M&A. I will dig this one up and we'll share it on LinkedIn and we'll tag you. But thank you for the question and thank you for dialing in. And you might actually let's see. Okay, yeah, I got another question. I think we answered the other question. Yep, thank you. So we'll follow up with the question about the LinkedIn inbox and also about M&A and M&A systems. And Carlos is a master in that field, so I know you might have some preferences as well. I'll get your I'll direct message you, Carlos, as well, and see if you have specific recommendations. But thank you. In terms of expanding your adoption, so this might sound contrary to what we discussed in the previous point. So initially I said use as is, but as I was alluding to later before the questions, is that once you use the CRM or once you use any piece of software, once you're in it and you're running into issues, a lot of times what I do is I'm trying to do something in Excel or in a Google sheet, and I don't know how, like some sort of crazy formula. Like I used to go on Google, now I go on ChatGPT and say, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. Like here's the data that I have, and here's what I want the output to be like. So what is the formula, right? So the same thing with CRMs is there's a lot of help online, and as you start to use this the system, I see a common predicament here is that a lot of people they just stop at using that system for 20% and they don't expand their understanding and adoption of the software. So what they end up doing is they end up buying another piece of software while not realizing that the software that they own already addresses what they're looking for. So as you gain experience, as you build up your sales process muscle, you will learn. I want you to learn more than beyond the basic, beyond the system as is, and then understand either the other capabilities that are built in with the software license you bought, or any modules that actually plug into this. So, for example, if you use, I'll use Salesforce. I'm using Salesforce a lot today, but just since these are the ones that are coming to mind. If you do a lot of email marketing, so you might want to tap into what Salesforce offers as the the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So the CRM within Salesforce is the Sales Cloud, but Salesforce, I don't know, they bought over, I don't know, maybe tens of companies over the years, and they have a lot of things that you can actually integrate into your CRM. So the tool that you bought, remember we talked about the features. You might be using 20% of all the features. As you're growing that sales muscle and the sales process muscle, expand and understand what other features exist in what you already bought, or see if there's something that is nicely integrated that can plug in from the same vendor. Same thing with Zoho. Zoho, they have, I forgot how many different products they have. There's a family of products. There's Zoho Social, there's Zoho CRM. So same thing with HubSpot. There's the marketing automation component and the lead nurturing component and then the CRM component. So look into what these software packages offer. Some of them, Pipedrive and others, Insight, I believe. Don't quote me on the specific feature, but some of them have invoicing capabilities as well. Some of them plug it into a customer support module. So a lot of these vendors, they obviously want to sell you a lot. So I'm not saying you go and buy everything they offer, but look again at your needs. As your needs have evolved, as you have grown, as you now are using the system and you are proficient in using that system, you're coming across, you're running into issues. So before you go out and start buying other software packages, see if what you bought already addresses what you need, and also see if the vendor has other modules that plug it into right away into it, or potentially, and then you might end up having to go to a third party vendor and buy something. But it's more of sort of a gradual approach. Use the system as is, and then gradually start to customizing that system, and then later expand and see what else can be used within the system or can be integrated with it before you look at another vendor. And then I think we have one more tip, and this is more about the culture that you want to set up in your company when using a CRM, which is really important. It's about leading by example, and I think that's probably the most important tip of all of everything we've discussed. Everything we've discussed is more sort of technical and features. This is more about you as a leader and how you use the system will impact the adoption within your organization. And again, I speak from, ask me how I know about it, because most of what I cover is based on mistakes I made in one or another of my businesses. So hold on to this last tip. But before that, let's see what questions we have. Let's see, we have doing the same thing over and over without seeing other option is a problem for me. So this is a comment. Doing the same thing over and over without seeing other options is a problem for me. I am not sure what you're referring to. Well, if I understand it, so I mean, part of this sales process is we do the same thing over and over. So we follow up with leads, right? We might not be getting the responses that we want, or the leads might not be getting back to us. So if you mean that you're using a system and you're sending emails and you're doing this thing over and over and you're not seeing like results, I don't know if it's an issue of the system or an issue of what you're doing. But for example, if, again, I'm just making some assumptions here. So if you're still with us on the webinar here, on the live stream, if you can just maybe clarify what you mean by this comment. But if I'm doing the same thing over and over and I'm not seeing results, something has to change. So I'll give you an example. If I speak with a lot of founders all the time. A lot of these founders are amazing people. They're subject matter experts in their field, but they're new to marketing and they're new to sales. So they haven't built that sales muscle. And what they typically do is they meet, let's say you meet someone at a networking event. They're interested in your service. The next day, hey, it was great meeting you at the Chamber of Commerce or at this function or the industry, conference. And they say, here's what I do. Here's my website. And let me know if you're interested in buying, our services. So that would be sort of a typical email. And then they follow up, hey, any update? And then another week they send another follow up. I haven't heard from you. Are you still interested? And then another week passes by and they send another follow up. And then they forget. They say, okay, this person is not going to buy from me. If you're doing the same, what I just described, and you're not seeing the results, I would examine the process. We are doing the same thing over and over. So instead of just sending a follow-up email and telling the client, asking the client, hey, any update, or are you ready to buy from me, or I haven't heard from you. Like, in every interaction with a client or with a lead, you want to add value. So instead of just sending a follow-up email and say, hey, I haven't heard from you, you can say, hey, how's it going? Hey, by the way, I was reading the news feed. I was in my news feed on LinkedIn. I found this article that talks about this issue that you had. I found it very insightful. You might benefit from it. Or better, you publish something on your own website or maybe on social media, or you do some research and then send this research or the results of what you found to the lead in your follow-ups. So again, if sorry, I'm making some assumptions about the comment here, but if we're saying over doing the things over and over and we're not seeing results, I would re-examine, what we're doing. Always, as Jim Collins said, when things go bad, look in the mirror. When things go well, look at the window, give credit to others, right? So that's again my understanding of the comment. If you have any more specific information, feel free to also just email me directly if it's something very maybe specific and you don't want to put it publicly there on LinkedIn or on YouTube. So email me at ferris@startupwithferris.com. Cool. Tip number four, set and forget does not work, and you gotta lead by example. I see this a lot, folks. So people buy whatever software, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce. They have maybe 3 people who will be using this within their company. So they buy a few seats and then they give their team instructions. Hey, we've got the tool. It's amazing. It's the best CRM out there. And go ahead and use it. And here's some videos from the vendor and, figure it out and let's close more deals. I'm going to expect you to double your, your targets because now we invested so heavily in this CRM. If you go with this approach or a version of this approach, either the team will give up in frustration or each will start to develop their own methods to accomplish the various tasks that come in with the CRM. So organized chaos is going to ensue, and your team members will set in, in their bad habits and each thinking, their way is the best way, and it causes all kind of confusion, and then you can't report on the data. So when implementing a system, revisit the 80-20 rule we mentioned earlier, but this time I wanted to look at that 80-20 rule from another angle. The resources you allocate to a tool, to the CRM, and when I say resources, I mean not just buying the software, but also the training that is needed for the people who will be using it, dedicating time for the people who will use it to learn it and use it and apply it. So I want you to, for every $2 you spend on a technology, that's the 20%, spend $8 on training people and allowing people the time to use, manage, develop processes for that technology. Again, this rule, 80-20, 70-30, 90-10, doesn't matter. But the idea is this rule applies to a lot of things in business and life, and including like any other software that you end up using. I see this, most companies, they do the opposite. They put most of their money in the software and they expect magic. They expect just results to happen without allowing time and allowing making training and support available for their people. So don't leave your team's adoption of the software to chance. I think if you want to get a trainer in, especially again, this is as you know, you have a maybe larger company, get professional training from the software company, or maybe negotiate some training if they don't have, if the available online training is not suitable for your needs. But and then make sure every team member, don't just say require them to attend, but make sure their schedule also is not so packed that they don't have time to attend the training, right? That they have time to attend the training. So again, you can do this on site, you can do it online, you can do, you can be creative, have maybe a social hour and bring in food or whatever, but do encourage people to learn the tool. And the most important of all of this is you are the leader and you must lead by example. All too often, I see founders and business owners and sales managers or managers in general, they find they delegate the new software implementation to some overworked staff member as an extra project on the side. Instead, I want you to champion the implementation yourself. Aim to become a master user. Again, this is we're talking about in the context of smaller departments, smaller businesses. But you got to lead by example. You want to, if you tell people, I want to track all the sales activities in the CRM. When you speak with customers, before anyone else, you go in and add your notes from the call you had with your lead. Log every call, every email, with precision. Generate reports. Use these reports on your weekly calls when you meet with your salespeople, even if again it's just you by yourself, make it a habit on a weekly basis to generate reports and look at the leads and look at the opportunities and where will these where they are today and how you can move them forward, and then stay abreast of new improvements that the technology offers, especially these days with AI all over everything we're doing. I'm seeing capabilities that are pretty impressive actually, where you can, the system will bubble up what you should do next with the lead, and they'll actually give you a proposed text to use. So for this lead, you might want to send, like here's a sample email that you can send to this lead, and then maybe they propose a white paper or some resource from the list of resources that you have. Again, don't click send blindly. You want to make sure AI is great, but is not perfect. So make sure you use AI, but also use it, I would say, responsibly. So the point here is you got to lead by example. You got to use those systems, and there will always be resistance from one or a few team members who are either uncomfortable with the new technology, or maybe they're afraid to ask questions, or they don't want to make mistakes, and they're used to their own ways. Change is hard, so be patient but persistent, and let people see firsthand how you as a leader, you're getting the most bang for this investment. And this is not just sort of the latest, the boss's latest interest, or the sort of the latest industry fad that someone went to a conference and bought, and now they want everybody to use. No, a CRM is a vital system, I think, for the business. You can do okay with spreadsheets. You can do okay for maybe, I always say maybe like 50 qualified leads to manage in a spreadsheet. After that, it gets really hard. Things will slip through the cracks. And if you don't follow up in sales, you're diminishing the likelihood of closing these deals. Sales is all about follow-up, and these CRM systems will make follow-up much, much easier, and just data management in general. So let's see, before we conclude, we have one more question. Again, I want to thank our community for all the questions and all the comments. And again, I know we owe some folks some answers. We'll get back to you before end of the day today for sure. All right, so the question we have: should you have one CRM owner on your team, or should you own it? Should everyone own it equally? Yes, one owner for sure. A lot of users. So if you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a new entrepreneur, you just got your business. Obviously, it's you and yourself, and that's it. So you're owning everything, not just CRM and sales. You're owning your email marketing. You're owning your accounting function. But as you're growing, and typically, I always tell, I don't think like you want to buy a CRM right away if you're just starting. I think a spreadsheet will be okay, as we said in the DIY CRM session. So as you're growing, I think you want to have, for larger companies, you have system admins, you have a full team at times. I mean, this is for companies with hundreds of salespeople. Like there's a whole function that I don't think it existed maybe before. I don't know, maybe it's sort of all like marketing ops and sales ops, sales operations. All these things are relatively new in business, maybe over the last 10 years or so. So there are, as your business grows, you might need to have a sales operations. I remember when we had 2 salespeople, and we were getting closer to, I think, upper 7 figures at the time. We ended up having a sales operations manager. I had no idea. This is back maybe, I forgot which year, but yeah, less than 10 years ago. So I had no idea that we needed something like this, or a person like that. And then there weren't a whole lot of people with that title. So we looked at the needs, someone who's good with numbers, someone who's good with processes, someone who's good with follow-up, someone who knows how to tweak systems. And we found an amazing lady at the time, referred to us by a friend. And she went in and figured out the system. And then she was not managing the salespeople, but she was managing the process, making sure the data is clean, making sure the salespeople, they're all using the same terminology for what a lead is, what an opportunity is, what the different stages are. She was bubbling up reports to management on a weekly basis, to salespeople like more frequently. The dashboards in the system were clean. So this is where that 20 or 80-20 rule is. Like, we invested a little bit of money into the software, but we put a whole lot more money into just the people who were managing the software. It paid off handsomely for us. And again, in more than one business. In the business today at eSense, we're using HubSpot, and we have business in the US, we have business in Dubai, and we have different salespeople with some partnership in Europe. So managing all of this could be maddening. So having someone who can come in initially, you don't need a full-time person. You might need to maybe a part-time or a contractor. But as your business grows, as your revenue grows, you definitely need someone to own the system. So initially, learn it as a business owner, as a sales manager. I think get in there and learn it, use it, and then I think you can either outsource, or you can delegate, or you can find someone who can maybe put in a few hours a week to make sure the system is running smoothly and the data is clean, and then the reports are being used and acted upon. So hopefully I answered the question. And again, to recap here, I appreciate everyone's joining and the questions and the comments. But I want you to remember a few things here. One is, initially focus on the essential features. Identify the 20% of the features that will fulfill 80% of what you need. And then second thing, and for new users and people who are new to CRMs, use the default settings and agree on a common terminology. And then gradually expand the features and how you're using the CRM, and find what else the system can use, or what else can plug into the system. And then later, reevaluate your needs and what customizations that you need, for yourself as a manager, or for your team members, to make the workflow, fully, as automated as it could be. And then also invest in training, invest in the personnel, the people who are using the system. And then as your needs grow, you might need to have a system admin, a part-time consultant, contractor. And remember the 80-20 rule in the different contexts here: 20% on the software, or 10% on the software, 80% or 90% on people and processes. And last but not least, lead by example. Become, with all the difficulties, all the challenges of adopting a new software, use it, jot down what needs to be improved, encourage your people to use it. And if you are using a tool, a software, if you're talking the talk and walking the walk, you're more likely to be successful in adopting any new software, not just a CRM. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are liking this content, subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the like button and share what you've heard. We would really appreciate it. If you're on another platform, the same thing. If you can share what you've heard and also click the like button. And would love for you to go to startupwithfaraz.com, Faraz spelled Feras, like my first name, and sign up for the Daily Advisor, our newsletter, our daily newsletter, where we share tips and strategies on how to build, grow, and scale your business to 7 and 8 figures. So thank you again for tuning in. Let us know if you have other questions, and we will see you next week. Same time, same location. Have a good one.